Okay, everyone, thanks for clicking on the video. We're going to get right into things. Today, we are going to be comparing, I believe, 13 or 14 of the most popular AI video generation platforms out there. We're going to be ranking them in three different key areas. First, the ability to do what I'm asking them to do. Second, their features and functionalities that they have available. And then third, on price. We don't want to pay an arm and a leg, but also we might pay a little bit more if everything works. We'll see today. Now, we're going to be primarily working with anime images. I personally work primarily with anime, and I've found that while these platforms, all of them, sometimes can do some great stuff from a realistic perspective, when it comes time to anime, they really struggle, or at least that's what I found in my experience. So we're going to be comparing these with specific anime examples. However, just know a lot of these platforms can do the realistic stuff as well. There's going to be three key images that we're going to be trying to animate. The first one is going to be of my lovely character Andrew here. I'm going to want Andrew to simply raise his hands, just in some way. Next, we want him to walk down this path. We're going to be looking for consistent scenes, good fluid 2D motion, not morphing into CGI and any of that nonsense. And then finally, on the hard test, we went easy, medium, hard. On the hard test, we're going to have Andrew and another one of my characters here, Hawthorne, shake hands. And I've found that multi-character interactions, at least from an anime perspective, are incredibly hard to do. We're not even going to try a fight scene or anything like that. So we're going to try and see how each of these 13 or so platforms handles each of these images, and then we'll compare on pricing. So let's go ahead and get right into things. So if we're going to start first with Runway, and Runway is probably one of the most popular image generation tools. It's US based. It's been out for quite a while. If you click get started here, Runway has an incredible amount of features. We can generate image, audio. There's a lot of different models for you to use specifically with Runway. There's a ton of features, and I think that this is one of the most popular platforms out there. So the level of investment going in is crazy. I don't think you have to worry about this platform disappearing. Now, the test, let's check out how the test did. The first test is Andrew raising his hands. And just before we kind of get in here and start talking about these, I use the same simple prompt for each of these platforms. The same prompt was used for all of the images. Very simple things like man raises his hands and the camera remains still. I've found in my experience that the simpler you keep the video prompt, the better. So let's see how it did image one. Remember, image one is Andrew here. We want him to raise his hands. And let's see, I think that's pretty good in terms of keeping the animation consistent. We've got him raising his hands. The hands aren't morphing. They're not changing the background or anything like that. This is very good in terms of how AI animation goes. Let's see how it did the second test. And in the second test, once again, pretty good. He's walking down the path. The path is moving slightly. The background's staying consistent. This is pretty darn good. The shoes did change color because the shoes were out of shot at the beginning of this picture. So we're going to see how these models inject their own creativity into it. Ideally, he's blue. His shoes would be blue, but that's nitpicky. I think at the end of the day, I'm pretty impressed with how that looked, at least on the second example. Now, on the third example here, let's see if he'll shake hands with Hawthorne. No, this is sort of like me in high school in certain situations. Just Hawthorne's not reciprocating this handshake. However, Andrew is, this isn't the best. And I think this is something we'll find with the majority of the platforms. The multi-character interaction stuff is going to be tough, and you may need to generate quite a few of these in order to get the ones that you want. So Runway, unfortunately, is not able to do this one, even though, Andrew raising his hand here doesn't look bad. It looks pretty damn good, actually. It's just not doing what we want it to do. Now, in terms of pricing, one of the things I want to call out is the unlimited tier. So Runway does have unlimited. Unlimited is really nice with these types of image generation platforms because of the nature of how AI, video, and image generation works. Sometimes you have to generate quite a few times to get what you want. So Runway having unlimited is definitely something good. The $15 to $35 to $95 price point seems to be an industry standard, at least from a monthly perspective. You can drop some of this price down by switching yearly. However, if I personally was to use Runway, I would definitely opt for the unlimited plan. However, your tolerance for $95 a month may vary. Personally, if you're willing to spend that, having an unlimited option at that price point is ideal because you don't have generation anxiety. All said, I'm going to give Runway, I'm going to put it at the A tier. I think it's a platform that has an incredible amount of features, an incredible amount of investment going into it. It's not going anywhere. You don't have to worry about it just disappearing. And then finally, it has an unlimited price under $100. So I think that's for sure worth it. However, it did struggle with those multi-character interactions. Maybe if I generated 20 of them, it might work, but who knows? The next platform we're going to look at is Kling. Now, Kling, I think, is one of the best platforms. It's currently the one that I use. And Kling usually handles animation very well. Kling has a ton of different features. It's usually when people talk about, hey, here's the platform I use, and I'm making a video about these, they're usually using Kling if they're paying for their video generation. Kling has a ton of different features they even just released a 2.0 model today, actually. I'll probably make a video on that unless one of these platforms, supersedes Kling. However, multiple different types of ways to generate your videos, as well as ways to do camera directions within the videos, as well as input and output points. So Kling is definitely a strong competitor in terms of feature and functionality. Let's look at how it did test number 1 here, how Andrew raising his hands. I think it did pretty good. He's kind of putting them directly above his head when ideally they'd kind of be like this. But once again, I didn't prompt for that. So I think that's pretty darn good. Background's not changing. There is a really kind of weird, Kling kind of has weird animations sometimes. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. However, it's not bad. Let's see how the walking animation did. This is pretty good. You'll see that Kling kept the blue glow going down to his feet like that, which I'm excited to see. And he's walking a little bit slowly, but you could prompt for him to walk faster. So I think that's pretty good. No background artifacts. Now let's see how test 3 did. And that's pretty damn good, guys. Especially on the first time I generated this. You're going to be hard struck to find better animation than that, at least from a 2D perspective out there. If I'm wrong, let me know. But he's taking his hand. You see even, let's pause. Let's make it a little bigger and let's pause here. You even see how his fingers remain consistent and Hawthorne's hand does with the fingers and his thumb in the right place. That's hard to beat. I'll be surprised if any of these other platforms beat this. That's really good. They're looking at each other. One of the downsides of Kling, however, is that loves to make the characters talk. You have to really prompt against them not talking. Maybe I'll make a Kling guide if you all find value in this video at some point. Now, in terms of pricing with Kling, Kling's got a couple different options out here. So the first one is, your basic. You can do you can get free credits monthly by logging in. If I switch to monthly, the standard is $7 a month. Pro is $32, and Premiere, what I use, is $80. Not unlimited. You're going to have 8,000 credits at Premiere and vice versa. Your average generation on this platform is going to be 20 to 30 to 40 credits per generation. So you can use these up quite quickly. Kling gets away with this by being the best one that I've seen so far. So we'll see if this tier list shakes that up, but Kling's definitely good. Kling is going into S tier. It would be Ultra S+++ tier if it had an unlimited functionality, but it doesn't. But that's okay. So we're going to move into the next one, Pika. Now, Pika Labs is one of the platforms that I was excited for. It's one of the first ever video generation platforms I ever experimented with back when I was like, oh, I think I could maybe make anime, something I've wanted to do my whole life. So, Pika, I went in there, lots of different ways to do framing, put different input, output images, create videos. Pika really has it all. And you'll find that people recommend Pika when it comes to anime as well. So let's go in and see how it did with the tests. So did my hands raise as they were supposed to in this test? Not really. Actually kind of horrifying. They're kind of a little flimsy, and they don't really look all that great. So not the best showing on example 1. Let's see how example 2 did. This one's not bad. It's not the best, it's not the worst. He's walking, the background remains consistent, but you'll see his foot is kind of flinging out to the side there. He's gonna need to see a doctor, I think. That's not the greatest. Seeing how these two did, I'm interested to see how this one did. Oh boy. So let's bring it up here to this screen. So yeah, there's some warping here. the hands end up changing color. It's just, and you'll find, as you can see, as it kind of goes through its motions here, these models struggle with 2D animation. They want to be 3D. So you'll see that we start breaking out the 2D animation, and Hawthorne's face starts looking weird. This isn't ideal, not for filmmaking, guys. If you're using any of these platforms to just animate still images to create like YouTube automations or other types of things, I would say you go for one of the unlimited platforms and just go to town. However, if you're looking to bake these into like serious types of productions, you couldn't use this shot. So I think if we're going to rank Pika, Pika is going to go on, I would say, I'm going to put it on B tier. It does have, I guess we forgot to look at Pika's pricing. Let's look at Pika's pricing before we start ranking it. So no unlimited, decent price point and credits, access to all the models and fast generations. We're going to put Pika at D tier right now. I wasn't impressed by the animations. I wasn't impressed by, there's no unlimited option in the pricing. And to be honest with you, at the free tier, it took like seriously 9 hours yesterday for those images to finish generating. So I really wasn't impressed by any of these animations. I think Pika definitely has its place, but compared to some of the competition out there, it's just not as good. And I think you'll find here, as we go through this list, some of these are just so much better than the others. So that's Pika. Let's move to Luma. Now, Luma is one of those that is another one that really builds itself on being like an anime platform, or people will recommend it when you talk about anime. There are a couple different plans here. It's pretty generous with the credits, as well as you get unlimited use for $66 a month. Oh, never mind. Let's change that from the yearly. For $95 a month, same price as a Runway, you can have unlimited use. So it does have an unlimited option. Let's see how my videos did. And you know what? I actually don't think I was able to do this at all. So let's try that. You're right. So Luma does not let you test as a free user video generation. And that irks me a little bit, just because these things cost a lot of money, especially for the unlimited plans. And to ask someone to pay for the service without you even showing like your capabilities as a video generation service, even Kling, which is on more of the expensive side of these things, gives you a free tier. So with that said, we can't even review Luma. I have heard good things, but we're just going to have to put that into the I could not test. And a lot of these other platforms fall into that same category, guys. So I'm just going to make you all aware of that as we go through here. So we'll go to Vidu next. And Vidu actually is one of these that I think is a sleeper hit, at least when I was making these prompts and images yesterday for this video. So it's got a lot of different features here. You can create images, create text to video, create image to video, create reference to video. I think Vidu might be a purely video generation software. In terms of how it did on my specific tests and what the pricing looks like, the subscription does offer unlimited free generation in non-peak mode, so probably the videos take a little bit longer. And then in standard and premium, similar pricing, you'll find that all these guys are between $5, $25, and then the high-end one is usually $80 to $100 in that regard. So, but does have an unlimited plan and $80 a month. So same price as Kling monthly. However, it is... So actually, I've got to change it to monthly again. Monthly is actually $100 a month for unlimited. So here's the thing, guys. Just quick tidbit from me. We'll see if I edit this out or not. Yearly billing for these platforms, a year in the AI space might as well be a million years. So like, how bad do you want to fork over? This is probably $800 to $900 to this company. If you've never heard of them, I highly recommend doing monthly billing. Yes, you're paying a little bit more per month, probably $10 or so. But the way this industry is moving, a platform could come out tomorrow that makes all of these other platforms irrelevant, and you're going to have already given Luma $900. Good luck getting your money back. So a word of caution there. Now let's see how our image generations did. Now our first one with Andrew raising his hands, I think went quite well. He's doing kind of like a little stretch there towards the end, and he's moving a little bit. However, not bad. The background remained consistent, and I don't hate that. I think the walking looks great. That's really good, actually. Nicely paced. He's moving down the road. That's pretty darn good. In terms of the handshake, that's impressive. Let's start that from the beginning. So that's really impressive, guys. Like, not only is it's not as good as the one with Kling, however, it's pretty darn good in terms of it got the characters to shake their hands. It didn't add like any unnecessary noise into it, and the UI is extremely simple to use. So I think you can use input and output images here. Vidu is a very strong showing, at least when it's coming in terms to animate. This was something that surprised me quite a bit. I'm going to put Vidu at the I'm actually going to put it ahead of Runway in A tier. I think that it did all of them good. It has an unlimited functionality, and it has a lot of features. It's not trying to like give you too much stuff like some of these platforms. They're throwing like, oh, turn your characters into plush bunnies, stuff like that, and you don't really need that stuff. You'd rather just have a good core experience with image to video. That's what you really need. So let's move to Sora now. So Sora is the one that had everyone excited a little bit ago. I know I saw the video of Sora and was just like, oh my gosh, we're spoiling how it did. But I remember watching the video of Sora and just being like, oh my gosh, Sora blew me away. Like it had all sorts of crazy videos that it generated in those commercials. And we were just like, oh my gosh, when this comes out, that's when I'll start making my anime. As I literally thought that to myself like a year and a half ago. And then Sora came out, and let's just say it wasn't great. And I don't think it's still great based on the types of images. We'll see how it did. Sora, the advantage may be, hey, I pay for ChatGPT already. I get access to Sora. And it is true. However, if you want to use it for anime, it is not the best. I think it works way better with more realistic settings, especially if you're just doing text to video. If you're trying to start with an input image, I think it really struggles, and we'll see that here. So it straight up actually just doesn't work. So you'll see here, instead of Andrew raising his hand, he sort of like changes, like the image changes, and it's just a different person. And I don't even know what that is really. It's not, but certainly not what we're looking for. So not the greatest there by Sora. Really bad actually. And so we'll go back to my images here. Okay, so now let's see how it does walking. So he starts running. I guess he is running. I asked him to walk though. I mean, you might be able to generate more and get him to do what you want there, but really not good. Let's see how the second output did. It starts, Sora does this a lot. It just takes, it's like, okay, cool, that's what you want, but here's what you're going to get. Good luck making a consistent film with this. Just not possible, guys. Sora is not impressive. In terms of pricing, this goes with your ChatGPT plan. You're either paying $20 a month. You may have the team plan, which I think is like 60 or something like that, or you pay for Pro, and that's 200. I don't know how many generations you can do. OpenAI changes this stuff all the time. However, if you're paying for ChatGPT, at least for the $20 plan, you have access to this and you can start using it. I recommend playing around with it and trying it out for yourself. But in terms of this tier, we're putting it at the lowest tier. It did very bad. The next one is ToonCrafter. And ToonCrafter is more of an honorable mention. I want to mention it just because ToonCrafter is one of the first things I ever saw in this regard. And what ToonCrafter really does is essentially takes an input frame and an ending frame and then generates the video. And it's designed to work with anime, and it looks really good when it works. So you think, wow, why is it not in S tier? Why is the video not 5 seconds long? It just says go use ToonCrafter. The issue is, to use ToonCrafter and to use it well, you need an input and an output image, and not just an input output image. They kind of look, I generated 2 images and they look sort of similar. They need to essentially be keyframes. And with how AI image generation works, at least how it works right now, is you generate once, you generate again, things can be wildly different. There'll be artifacts. Even if you use LoRa's to keep a character consistent, things are going to change. Outputs may slightly alter. It's incredibly hard, if not impossible, to get 2 true keyframes like a true animation process would. So it's a blessing of a curse of using AI. So ToonCrafter is more of like an honorable mention. I'm going to put it into B tier. It's a B tier if you have keyframes. If you have keyframes, it's very good. You can even run it locally, which is always a plus. So definitely keep an eye on ToonCrafter. Okay, so let's talk about Hailuo. AI, which I think is what it's called, or it might be called Minimax. I'm not sure. What I like about Hailuo or Minimax is there's just a lot of options, guys. So like your ability to get inspiration from others, your ability to create images here, to create videos here, it's all here, and they have a pretty decent free plan to where you get bonus credits for daily login. You can get generated images, you get credits. Hailuo is definitely one of those ones to where if you were interested in it, you could go in and try it right now and do something with it. In terms of like the monthly costs, the unlimited is $95 a month, so another unlimited option, and we like those. We have enough anxiety already versus wasting our credits. So let's see how our hand raise did. Pretty good. It's a little quick, right? Like not as steady. I really think like Runway did this one the best, but he does raise his hands and he kind of puts them up there, does like one of these things. Not bad by any means. I think it works good. Now, if we go in and see how the walking one did, I think this one did pretty decent. He's kind of moonwalking a little bit, and his shoes are a different color. I used to pay for this one before I went to Kling, and you find that it has tough time with anime and moving them and doing those types of things. So I can only imagine what this one's going to look like. It did technically do what we asked for, right? Like they did shake hands. However, the background's kind of flickering. Hawthorne doesn't turn and look at him, but maybe that's what you want. And the colors get weird here. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It's okay. There is an unlimited plan. Lots of different things to do with like images, and I think you can do input and output images as well. One of the reasons to keep an eye on Minimax or Hailuo is that they have a model that they released that was specifically for 2D animation. One of the reasons why I got it in the beginning, and it's just not working that great, guys. So, but they may update it in the future, at least for more advanced animation. So they may update it in the future. Something to keep in mind and keep an eye on as we go through this. So I'm going to put Hailuo in the high B tier because it can do a lot of this stuff. It does have an unlimited plan, but it's not as like snappy as Runway, Vidu, or Kling. So something to keep in mind there. And then finally, let's go to Domo here. Domo AI I had never heard of before really putting together this list. It has multiple different things you can do on the platform. You can generate image to video. You can create images on here. You can create videos. You can determine the aspect ratio. All that does not support input output frame to my knowledge. However, it doesn't cost a lot of credits to like create the videos. So I'm interested to see how many credits the plans give you. Now let's see how my hand raise did. Nah, that's not gonna work. It is different style, looks more cartoony, kind of looks weird. He puts him behind his head. That really didn't work. Let's see how the walking looks like. He's kind of like tip tapping. It's not not ideal, not the best. Didn't really handle that as good as some of the other platforms. So, but once again, not the worst. Let's see if they shake hands. I'll bet that they don't. Yeah. So they kind of, they did, right? But there's a lot of jerkiness going on. They changed the way the animates. It's not 2D animated. So it's not great. I think, like, let's look at the pricing. So pricing does have unlimited for $50 a month, so it's on the cheaper end, and I think that kind of comes across in some of the quality. However, if I switch it to monthly, it's actually $70 a month for unlimited. So for just $10 more, you can have Kling, or $20 more Runway or Hailuo or one of those other platforms, or Vidu. So I don't know, guys. I think it's one maybe to keep an eye on. However, I personally would not use this platform. This is going to go into the top of D tier. And I think that's pretty good. This is the list as it stands right now. A couple honorable mentions on this list is Adobe Firefly. Adobe Firefly we can't use yet. It doesn't let you do it even if you're paying for Creative Cloud, so that's fun. However, if you do pay for Creative Cloud, eventually you'll be able to generate videos with it. But you have to pay another $10 a month to get access to that. So if it comes out and it's mind-blowing, maybe I'll make a video on it and we'll check it out. However, it probably won't. This is the list as it stands right now. I will be staying on top of this and I will update this as needed. Thank you all so much for watching. If this gave you any value, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It's a new channel, baby channel. We're trying to grow it. So every subscriber really counts and I really do appreciate that. I'll be here bringing the latest news and AI for anime and just general film production, as I think that we have an age of independent creators leveraging AI to bring their dreams to life ahead of us, and it's already sort of here right now. So thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.